Welcome to the 11-point countdown! Loudness always gets them. Today we are counting down the 11 least deserving Best Picture winners as voted by more than 3,000 people on 11points.com. I'm Sam Greenspan. Today, for the first time ever, I'm getting double teamed by the Battleship Pretension guys, Tyler Smith, David Bax. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for
You guys ready to count down? The number 11 least deserving Best Picture winner is My Fair Lady, 1964. It beat Dr. Strangelove and, to a lesser extent, Mary Poppins.
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Well, so is it okay?
Dr. Strangelove,
I've seen Dr. Strangelove.
So you know that should have won.
People say it's the best movie musical of all time, and it did inspire Seth MacFarlane to make the Stewie character. It's entirely based off of Rex Harrison in My Fair Lady.
I think the best movie musical of all time is Cabaret, and I think Stewie should have been based on Joel Grey's character from Cabaret.
Number 10. Least deserving Best Picture, The English Patient, 1996, beat including movies like Fargo and Jerry Maguire.
And Secrets and Lies.
And Secrets and Lies, right.
Yeah.
I remember at this point only from the Seinfeld episode where they make fun of how bad The English Patient is.
When I think of like younger people that like get into film and you say like, well, what are some of the movies that got you into film? They'll list off a few, Pulp Fiction, which I feel like we'll talk about later. And they say Fargo. No one will ever, no one has ever, no one will ever say The English Patient. It is, everything about it is Best Picture-ish.
Well, it's like the Academy is always trying to get younger viewers to the Oscars, or the producers are.
Right.
The voters are saying no.
Yeah.
Pulling the other way.
Right.
The English Patient.
Yeah, they're like, okay,
Over 60.
All right, Fargo, you'll get your little screenplay Oscar, and hey, how about a Best Actress? We weren't expecting that, so there you go. But picture, we'll leave that to the pros.
The number 9, least deserving Best Picture winner, The Artist. Beat out a fairly weakish field, I thought, but it still beat things like The Descendants, The Help, Moneyball, and Midnight in Paris.
And Tree of Life.
And well, I didn't like Tree of Life, but yes, it beat Tree of Life. Are we going to fight about that one?
No, we're not going to fight.
What was it about?
It's
Just tell me what Tree of Life was about, and we can argue about it.
Life.
No one...
Trees.
Right.
Of. The. It's all there in the title.
The Artist is no more or less pablum to me than The Help or The Descendants, and I actually like The Artist.
I think The Artist is it's a perfectly fine film, and then immediately when you say, oh, well, it's the best movie of the year,
right,
people will immediately turn on it.
I think it got that. It was like,
yeah,
this is the best. I mean, it's fine, and it's stylish, and they don't talk, so that's cool. But
that's neat. Yeah.
Right, it's neat. Yeah, it was neat. Yeah. Number 8, least deserving Best Picture winner, Dances with Wolves, 1990, beat including Goodfellas.
The English Patient of 1990.
All right, now hang on. Dances with Wolves is a perfectly fine film. In fact, I would say it's a very good film. It's not Goodfellas. That is its only crime.
Right.
It's not the film's fault that it won Best Picture.
I agree.
You know,
it's someone's fault that Kevin Costner beat Scorsese for Best Director that year also.
It's not his. He wanted to make a movie, and then they gave him an Oscar for it. It's hardly his fault. Goodfellas is a great movie. Dances with Wolves is much maligned and unfairly.
Personally, I don't have a favorite movie of 1990 off the top of my head because I was 8, and
you weren't watching Ghost when you were 8. Like...
Your parents didn't take you to see Reversal of Fortune, the story of Klaus von Bülow, when you were 8. They're like, you need to see this. Insulin, watch out.
Number 7, least deserving Best Picture. 2010, The King's Speech beat, among others, Inception, Social Network, The Fighter, and Black Swan.
It beat Inception, David. One of the best movies we've ever seen.
I am on record as not being a fan of Inception, but I am a huge fan of The Social Network.
Yeah.
And I agree, this was undeserved.
Yeah, everything about it just reeked of like old people just reclaiming their birthright and just like and just saying like, no, damn it. We're not going to only give it Best Actor. Yeah. We're going to give it everything. Right. Yes, Best Director included. Yeah, that's how ridiculous we are as old people.
We're going to expand the nominees to 10. But we're still going to give it to the one.
Yeah. To the one that would have won if there were 2.
Yes.
Right. No matter what, that was getting it. And speaking of that, my parents loved King's Speech. Like, my parents thought The King's Speech was the greatest thing they'd seen in a decade.
If you'd shown somebody that movie and said, oh, it was made it won Best Picture in 1965.
Right.
Everyone would have been like, oh yeah, of course it did. But
it's very Man for All Seasons. Yeah. It's
easy there.
Everything I say, it's fun. It's like poking a bear, but I don't even know what sticks are going to work.
Man for All Seasons isn't on there, is there?
No, it's not.
All right then. Think about that.
The number 6, least deserving Best Picture. surprised it's only number 6 is the most maligned, which is Crash, 2005.
Yes.
Beat, among others, beat only Munich, Brokeback Mountain, Capote, and Good Night and Good Luck.
The fact that those 4 movies were nominated speaks better of the Academy than most of the rest of this list, and yet they still gave it to Crash.
I remember that year, I believe it was Jack Nicholson that presented Best Picture. He went up, opened the envelope, said Crash, and as people were making their way to the stage, he goes, "Whoa!"
Right, because he saw Ludacris and Brendan Fraser walking up, and he was like, "What just happened?" Number 5, least deserving Best Picture. How Green Was My Valley, which is famous in 1941 for beating Citizen Kane.
I've not seen How Green Was My Valley.
None of us have seen it. So
it has its defenders because it comes up on lists like this, and there's always in the comments section people saying like, "No, it's good. It's just not."
Having not seen it,
Citizen Kane.
Number 4, least deserving Best Picture. Titanic in 1997 beat, among others, L.A. Confidential, Good Will Hunting, and I believe Billy Bob Thornton as well. Was that year? Sling Blade.
No, I'm sorry, that was the year before.
Was that the
English
year before?
Patient beat Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't.
L.A. Confidential is of those obviously the one that should have won. I like Titanic more than Good Will Hunting or As Good as It Gets, or what was the other one you said?
Full Monty?
Full Monty. I like Titanic better than all of those, but L.A. Confidential is the one that should win.
That was one of those years where they were finding a way to give everything. I think of the movies from that year, L.A. Confidential probably holds up the best now. Like, I remember thinking Good Will Hunting was stunning at the time, and now watching it 15 years later, it's like, oh, this is treacly. But
yeah.
And Titanic obviously is.
Sam, it's not your fault.
Hey! It's not your fault.
It's not my fault. I know it's not my fault. The number 3 least deserving Best Picture, Forrest Gump, 1994, beat one of the best fields of all time, including Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption,
Quiz Show,
which we disagreed on before the show. I don't really like Quiz Show. And I forget what the 5th one it beat was, but it was also very good.
Four Weddings and a Funeral.
4 Weddings and a Funeral, right.
Yeah,
so that's a great field, and Forrest Gump, which has held up as bad as any movie has ever held up, won the award that year.
Pulp Fiction is clearly the one that will stand the test of time and be on lists from here to
College kids don't have Forrest Gump posters in their dorm rooms still now in 2012.
There are parts of Forrest Gump that I think are quite good, but the film as a whole, this is what I can say about it. My mom loves it. And isn't that really all you need to know?
I don't know your mom, but yes.
Yes. Let me put it this way. Moms love it.
Right, moms in general.
So,
still. Yeah. Oh, look at that, Kennedy talking again. Right. Number 2, least deserving Best Picture winner, another musical, Chicago in 2002, beat, among other, Gangs of New York, The Hours, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and The Pianist.
See, here's the thing, and I know this is a little controversial. Being not a big fan of The Pianist, to me, that field is a 5-way tie for the middle.
That's a very weak field that year.
Any one of those, if it had won, I'd think, oh, that didn't deserve it.
It's a weak field, but Chicago was not good. Like I went to see Chicago after, and I saw it late after the hype was going, and I went and I was just miserable the entire time, just absolutely miserable.
It's one of many movies that have come out in the last 20 years that everyone, like, they're just so eager. The Oscars and Hollywood in general is so eager to say, like, oh, the musical is back. Right. Let's give it an Oscar. The musical is back. Oh, no, it's not. Shoot. Well, we already gave it the Oscar now.
Right.
Chicago is the musical for people who don't like musicals because it apologizes for its own format by stepping out of the reality of the movie for the for the songs, which I think is kind of an insult to the genre.
All right, and the number one least deserving Best Picture winner is Shakespeare in Love, 1998, famously beat Saving Private Ryan.
Disagree. English Patient, by far, is the number one.
More than Crash? Crash is worse than the English Patient.
Crash usually wins these lists in general.
Crash or the English Patient, probably, yeah. It's one of those two.
Shakespeare in Love was the first time that marketing decided a Best Picture because Miramax, I believe, that went nuts pushing Shakespeare in Love and actually succeeded in getting that.
But at least there, as opposed to Crash, there's a reason you can point to. You can point to the marketing, whereas with Crash, it's like, whoa. It's like Jack Nicholson said.
And Shakespeare in Love is it's a really good movie all around. Like, wonderful costume design, wonderful performances, brilliant script. It's just a really
partial nudity.
It's all there.
Right?
Everything you want is there. There's some justice there. It's not like they threw, director to John Madden or whatever.
John Madden?
That's the name of the guy who directed Shakespeare in Love.
Oh, really? I did not know that. But
but that must have seemed very strange.
Right.
What I just said must have really thrown you.
Boom.
My research did not take me there, so yeah.
Saving Private Ryan, I think, hasn't aged all that well either, but maybe a little better than Shakespeare in Love.
The opening beach storming scene is just unbelievable cinematic achievement that they did, and then it gets a little long when they find Matt Damon, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
And Matt Damon factoring into a lot of this list.
And and then Tom Hanks has to tell him, hey, it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for our Best Pictures. Thank you to the Battleship Pretension guys, Tyler, David. You can check them out and their podcast at battleshippretension.com. They also have a video series that is highly worth checking out. You can see the full results of this poll and how all the other least deserving Best Pictures did at 11points.com. Please take a moment to subscribe to this here YouTube channel because top 10 lists are for cowards. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.